Alright, we are back with another update on the Crashfiniti. This is the 2006 Infiniti G35 that I picked up from a coworker about 2-3 weeks ago now. We started pulling everything apart and realized that the front end was tweaked, everything was pushed out of alignment just a little bit. So it's been to the body shop, it's been pulled back to square according to them, and now it's time to move on to the next part of this project, and that is replacing the front left suspension. Now the front left wheel is currently pushed back into the wheel well just a little bit, and that makes me worried that some things are bent. I don't see anything broken, but it doesn't hurt to replace everything while we're here. So I was able to purchase what Infiniti and Nissan call a suspension knee off of eBay. It's from a car that got wrecked in the rear. It has similar mileage to mine, it's off the same year as mine, and it includes the control arms, the strut, the hub, everything you would need for this corner. So we're gonna start pulling things apart and seeing what we need to replace. So let's take a look at what we've undone so far. We are about halfway through getting this whole suspension knee removed. If we look over here, we've got these two spots where the upper control arm goes, which is this guy. When you remove it, make sure it doesn't hit you in the face. The three strut bolts up here are undone, but the whole strut's still up in here because everything else is holding it. There's the brake line that runs here, kind of goes around. There's all sorts of little blocks that this thing passes through for fluid. I don't know why they did it that way, but anyway, all of that is loose and it can sit, caliper can sit on the floor without any tension on it, which is good for the brake lines. We also undid the sway bar end link, and we undid the tie rod, which is right here. So at this point, I just need to remove the bolt holding this control arm, which is right here. And then we have another bolt holding right here, and this whole knee should come right out, and that includes leaving the strut bolted to the bottom of it right here. The new one was sent to me all assembled, so the hope is to reassemble just like this. So we got the whole front left knee removed from this car. As you can see, there is not much going on down here. As it turns out, we had to remove the underbody brace, which is this guy here. It goes from driver's side to passenger side. It's 7 or 8 bolts. That was holding this radius arm in place, which goes through that bolt right there. And then we pulled out the front lower control arm here, upper control arm, strut, took off a few things here, the tie rod, the sway bar end link, and of course this real wacky looking brake line. So everything's off, and let's take a look at the old versus the new. You can tell there's some things obviously bent, so let's take a look. Now looking at old versus new, this one right here is what I just pulled off the car, and then this knee right here is the one that I purchased from some nice person on the internet. So obviously you can see the entire assembly comes off as a unit. You've got the radius arm, the upper control arm, the lower control arm, the strut, and the hub. So this radius arm is what I was most concerned about because the wheel was not centered in the wheel well. So if you look at this, it kind of follows a nice gentle curve, and then if we come back to the old one that came off the car, that follows a very non-gentle curve. Clearly this is what took all the brunt of the impact in that collision. So we're going to replace the whole unit, the whole knee. The strut and everything look fine. Insurance said the strut was bent. I don't think I believe them. I think they just said that because the wheel was pushed around. But regardless, all these pieces came off as a unit. All these can go on as a unit. The donor car for this whole setup had right about the same mileage on it, about 130K. So should be good to go. I'm going to grab some lunch and throw this all back on. So we've gotten everything back together on this G35, and if we take a look down here, we've got the wheel just hanging on. It's not even bolted on with the lug nuts. However, if you notice, the wheel is pretty well centered in the wheel well. It was pushed back against this metal piece right here before, which was tearing up the tread and obviously couldn't really be driven. Now it turns out there were two arms, not just one, that were bent when we really looked at everything. Let's head on over and see what those looked like. If we head here, you can see. So there was this guy, which was bent, and then if we come around, you can't quite see it unless you do this. This arm here is supposed to be flat. So between the two, we figured out why that wheel was positioned improperly. So we got the new bumper here ready to go on. Obviously this will need some paint, and we're gonna follow that with the wheel well liners here. The new hood is already on the car. Let's just take a little walk down here, and we'll have to go through this very nice black interior, get it a little cleaned up after we're all done. But we'll get the fender, the core support, and the bumper put on this guy, and we should be more or less good to go. Just need some paint. Well, it's been quite a day, but the whole G35 is finally back together. We're not totally done, but this is, truth be told, pretty close. We got the suspension back on, the wheel is centered in the wheel well. All we had to do at that point was just get the rest of the body panels back on. Now, everything is lined up. You can see everything came off of a wrecked car that was black. We did get a new headlight, new bumper, fender, hood, all that. This corner's still not quite lined up 100%, so we're gonna have to massage that a little, see what we can do. But in the meantime, I wanna get it out in the driveway, get it cleaned up a little bit, and see how good it might look underneath all the grime from sitting for a little while. All right, so we got it out of the garage. Everything is together and it runs and drives. It definitely needs an alignment. The steering wheel's cocked sideways a little bit when you try to go straight. And I think it's got a bad wheel speed sensor because it's got a couple lights on for stability control and slippage and low tire pressure. But regardless, what showed up to me on a flatbed a few weeks ago is now a running, driving car. That's a big accomplishment, and I think once we do a few more little things, it'll be good to go, and we can see it on to its next owner.